Le futur antérieur, explaining successive future events. This video will review the futur antérieur. Surtout, on va revoir le futur, we'll review the future first, et puis on va regarder la construction du futur antérieur, we'll look at how to actually make the futur antérieur, et puis il y aura des exercices. Then there will be exercises. Le futur. Pour créer le futur, il te faut l'infinitif et puis avoir. You need your infinitive and a form of avoir in order to create the future. Remember that infinitives are any verb that end in er, ir, or re. So for er verbs, there is parler, aller, se doucher. For ir verbs, there's réussir, avoir, choisir. And for re verbs, il y a entendre, faire, et dire. Following this rule, if I wanted to say I will speak, I take my infinitive, parler, and simply add on the appropriate avoir form. So to say I will speak, it's simply je parlerai. If I wanted to say y'all or you respectfully will speak, I take my infinitive, parler, and add on the easy for vous parlerez. Notice how I simply add on easy for vous. This is because you don't exactly add avoir itself to the verb. You would never say vous parlerez. You simply add on the easy. This goes for the new form as well. You simply add on ons. That's why avoir is in quotes. It's because while most of them you simply add on, nous and vous, you just add on the ons and the easy. If I wanted to say he will hear, I take my infinitive, which is entendre, add on the a, and it's il entendra. Notice how I dropped the e when I added on the a. There are some verbs, though, that break the rule, such as aller, avoir, and faire. These are irregular verbs in the future. So, for instance, I would never say j'allerai to say I will go, even though the rule says take your infinitive, which is aller, and add on your avoir. You cannot do that. I would never in turn say ils avoiront to mean they will have, even though I'm taking my infinitive, avoir, and adding ont. I would never say nous ferons to mean we will make, even though I'm taking the infinitive faire and adding on the ons. These verbs don't use their infinitives, their stems change. They undergo a morphological transformation as the following demonstrates. Aller goes to ir, avoir goes to or, and faire goes to faire. So if we look at our chart, if I wanted to say he will go, I would take my changed infinitive, aller, which is ir, and then add on my a. So il ira. If I wanted to say y'all will have or you will have, I take my changed infinitive, avoir, which changes to or, and it becomes vous aurez. If I wanted to say you will make or you will do, I take my changed infinitive, faire, and then add on my a. So tu feras. Here are a common set of verbs that change morphologically in the future. They're as follows. Ser, or, ir, faire, pour, voudre, vers, sort, recevoir, viendre. Here's a short exercise for constructing the sentences in the future. Take your infinitive and place it in the blank in the future tense, conjugating them appropriately. You might want to pause the video in order to copy these down. I'll be showing the answers in the next 6 seconds. Here are the answers. Notice that voir is not est-ce que vous voirez, it's est-ce que vous verrez. Voir is yet another verb that undergoes a morphological change in the future. So, on a revu le futur. We just got done reviewing the future, and now we're going to go on to constructing the future antérieur. Here are two sentences. Je jouerai à chat perché and je ferai les devoirs. Both are in the future tense. The first one, je jouerai à chat perché, I'll play tag. And the second one, je ferai les devoirs, I will do homework. Now, if someone were to simply write these two sentences on a sheet of paper, I couldn't tell you which one comes first. I don't know from context if I'll play tag first or I'll do my homework first. I have no idea. They're just simply written like this. What the futur antérieur does is give the listener, or the reader in this instance, an idea of what order you will do future events. If I were to imagine my parents saying these two sentences, I'd imagine they would want me first to finish my homework and then play tag. So one way of conveying this idea in English, that my parents want me to finish my homework before I play tag, is in the following way. I will have done homework when I play tag. You understand as an English speaker that your first task tomorrow is to do your homework. That's the first. And then you'll play tag. So by the time I play tag, I will have already done my homework. Right? I will have done homework when I play tag. We know that tomorrow, the future event, first is homework and then tag. Here's our timeline to represent that. So P represents the present. Our first future event is je ferai les devoirs, and our second future event is je jouerai à chat perché. So let's look at how you actually construct this sentence in the futur antérieur. Our sentences are at the bottom just for reference. I will have done is the critical part here. And we can split this up into two parts. I will have and done. To do the first part, you need to know how to say I will have. Remember, avoir means to have, and the future for avoir is or. Remember, it goes through that change. Therefore, I will have is simply j'aurai. Then you add on done, which is fait, simply the past participle of the verb faire. And then the rest of your sentence follows. J'aurai fait les devoirs quand je jouerai à chat perché. Notice how you simply just add on that future sentence. The French like to keep their sentences in the future at all possible. So, j'aurai fait les devoirs. I will have done homework when I will play tag. Let's look at these two sentences. Tu finiras le roman, tu écriras une composition d'un thème que tu as aimé. Logically, your first future event would be to finish the book before your second future event, which is to write a paper over a theme that you liked in the book. So one way of expressing that you're going to finish the book first tomorrow before you write your paper is saying you will have finished the novel when you write a paper over a theme you liked. Again, our first future action is you will have finished the novel, and our second future action is you'll write a paper over it. If we look at this sentence, in French, you can split it up, again, into two portions. The you will have portion and the finished portion. You will have is simply tu auras. Finished is fini, and then flows the rest of your sentence. Tu auras fini le roman quand tu écriras une composition d'un thème que tu as aimé. Since we are talking about things that happen in the future, again, we have to keep the second clause still in the future. Let's look at these two sentences. Je sortirai de la maison et tu arriveras à la maison. Before we continue, I want to highlight something about the verb sortir and arriver that's very important. If we step back for a minute and think about how we put these verbs in the past tense, it's very tempting simply just to say j'ai sorti and j'ai arrivé. Unfortunately, you can't do this with these two verbs. They're a part of a group of verbs commonly known as Dr. and Mrs. van der Tramp verbs. These verbs do not use avoir in the passé composé, but être. So instead, it's je suis sorti and je suis arrivé. If I were a girl, I'd add an E to each of those past participles because Dr. and Mrs. van der Tramp verbs agree with the subject in the past tense. This is important to know for the futur antérieur because just again, as you don't say je suis or j'ai sorti and j'ai arrivé in the past tense, for the future, you cannot say j'aurais sorti and j'aurais arrivé. The helping verb is still être, so you have to use être as well in the future. So to say I will have left, you say je serai sorti. It's serait because remember être undergoes a stem change in the future. It's je serai arrivé to say I will have arrived. So, if we look at these two sentences, I've arbitrarily chosen the first sentence to be my first future action, though you could arguably make a case for the second sentence being your first action as well. So I want to say I will have left the house when you arrive at the house. Je serai sorti de la maison quand tu arriveras à la maison. I will have left de la maison quand tu arriveras à la maison. I would add an E to sorti if I were a girl. We've just gone over the construction de futur antérieur and now des exercices. What I want you to do is follow the model that's up here. I'm going to give you infinitive phrases and I want you to construct them in the futur antérieur. So finir les devoirs and aller au musée with the subject il. What I want you to say is il aura fini les devoirs quand il ira au musée. He will have finished his homework when he will go to the museum. So that's exactly like number one. I want you to say she will have listened to the podcast when she gives a commentary. For the second one, I want you to say we will say the answer when they understand the question, and you will go to Paris. You will have gone to Paris when I will go to Paris. Here are the answers.